In Luke chapter 5, Jesus made a stop on his sold-out preaching tour to preach at what some believe to be Peter's mother's house. While he was teaching, some men showed up carrying another man on a bed. They was carrying their friend on the bed because he couldn't walk and most likely was paralyzed. As they got close to Jesus, they knew that they wouldn't be able to just walk up to Jesus because they were carrying their friend on a bed and there were so many people there. As a matter of fact, there was always a crowd whenever Jesus preached. Remember the miracle of fish story? It was that time when Jesus had to preach from a boat since there were so many people around. The Bible says that he was thronged, which means that the people pressed upon him like you would do a grape. He was also pressed upon by the people when the woman with the issue of blood touched him. Remember, she touched the hem of his garment. You remember that one? After she touched Jesus, Jesus said, "Who touched me?" And Peter was like, "Huh? Master, it's all these people touching you. Look at all these people around us." The point I'm trying to make is that there was always a multitude of people everywhere Jesus went and everywhere he goes. And I just want to say two things about this multitude before I get to my main points about this text. First is that God is purposeful. He even uses the fact that crowds gather around him. The crowds kept the Jews from trying to kill him before it was his time. For the Bible says that the Jews teamed up with Judas to find a time to kill or arrest Jesus when he was by himself, because they were afraid that if they took Jesus while he was amongst the crowd, that the crowd would actually kill them. And I believe it to be true for us in a similar way, that the devil tries to get us by ourselves because he can do his best work when we are alone. The devil likes to speak lies into our ears to try to get us to do harm to ourselves and sometimes even other people. And so I want to say that whenever we're going through, we should definitely look to be around people who love us, for the Bible says that there is wisdom in the multitude of counselors. Secondly, this might be able to help somebody in their faith, because sometimes people may feel an earthly pull because it feels like other religious beliefs are more popular or maybe even cooler. And that can be true depending on where you're from, because certain religious beliefs can dominate in particular areas. And so I want to say to you, be encouraged. Even though it feels like you're in a minority or other people or so many people are following different beliefs going into a different direction, just remember that everywhere Jesus goes, there's always a sellout crowd. And you can even use Elijah as your example, because he was afraid too about people following false gods. And God told Elijah, "Listen, I got 7,000 prophets who have not bent the knee to the devil." And the great songwriter Jay-Z said it like this. He said, "Less is more, homie. It's plenty of us." So be encouraged, because you're not the only one walking this walk. Even though it may seem like it, the Bible tells us you're not the only one, for there's always a multitude everywhere Jesus went. We could even use King David as an example of getting into the multitude and finding safety there. For when King David was on the run from Saul, God told him to get to the house of God. Go get to the prophet Samuel. And when David got there, he was safe. As Saul and his lynchmen pursued after David, God caused them to pass out. He caused them to faint and not even be able to go after David. And so we can get into a multitude. And if you can't find the multitude, here it is, get to the house of God. That's where you know there's some believers at. That's where there's some like-minded people at, and you may find some safety in the house of God.